Well, hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today, for tuning in, for taking the time to watch this humble video of mine. And today's going to be about the Blue Note stuff again. I've got a couple of the newer, one of the classic series and one of the 80 series. And we're talking about, 45 RPM. We're talking about direct middle mastering. We're talking about digital. Talking about Kevin Gray, coherent, acoustic. All these different things are going to come into play today. And what that translates, how does that sound on the record? All those different things. Michael at 45 RPM Audiophile, he made a video and he was talking about, because he's got a lot more of these records than I do. He's got all the, like the Music Matters and the SRX stuff, and I don't have any of that. Those are phenomenal records that he's got. And he's comparing it to these, these 80s and stuff. And he's really, really impressed with the 80s, as am I. How good they are for the money. Very, they're so close to these very expensive records. And so I wanted to revisit a little bit of that and give you kind of my perspective. And I do agree with Michael on a lot of the things he said. What he kind of was saying about the differences now. This is your acoustic. This is your 45 RPM by Acoustic Sounds that was done by Kevin Gray. And this is your 80th that was done over at Coherent Audio by Kevin Gray. And the plates were both done at RTI. This one was pressed at Optimal and this one was pressed at RTI. So what is the difference? So Michael talked about how on the 80th now, there's a little bit more punch. There's a little more punch. It's a more forward presentation. It's kind of a little more in your face at times. And this one, cheers, rub it on there. This one's a little more laid back. It's not as in your face. It's not as forward. It's more of a relaxed presentation. And he also said it was kind of like it was a silver wire versus a copper wire, and I do agree with that. I kind of agree with that too, because I like the silver, but my cables are a Litz configuration, which is the proper gauge wire that is silver plated oxygen-free copper. So I'm eliminating a lot of the interstrang rectification problems. I'm eliminating the skin effect problems and a lot of the inductance problems within a wire that is not good for the frequencies within the music. So I kind of like a little bit of that silver, and you're going to get a little bit more detail, a little bit more, maybe a little bit forward with that silver too, because that's what he's getting at with the differences between the records. But you know what I do like about this, with that extra punch and that extra bit of with that comes, I'm hearing the stick a little bit more impact. I'm hearing that stick a little bit more. I'm hearing a little more shimmer on the cymbal. Now the saxophone and the trumpet, they kind of jumping out of the speaker a little bit more, and that's what we're saying about this attack, this punch. They kind of jump out a bit. It's not so relaxed and soothing. This is a lot more energetic kind of a sound. And with that, when you're listening to the drumming and the saxophone solo and the trumpet solo and then the pianos in the background, the piano is more clear. I'm hearing more detail on the piano. It's not as subdued like the whole presentation. Not that 45 RPM is a slouch, mind you. This thing's a dynamite record. And here's the thing, folks. Your average person that buying these records, you sit them down in front of the stereo, you play this one, you play that one, you do it 3-4 times, and it'll tell you, I can't hear any difference. They sound the same. It's folks like Michael and myself that we're really paying a lot more attention. We've heard this stuff so much that we really can know how what that sounds like. And when it's different, I can hear it. I can hear it better. So that's kind of my take on it. But I really wanted to talk a little bit more about something else today. and kind of how it relates to that whole thing we're talking about. This is the Sidewinder, and now it's on the Blue Note Classic series. It just came out here last month or two. And what I had before was, I had a lot of these records with this. They're made in France in 1985, and the direct metal mastered, premium quality vinyl, digitally remastered European pressings from Path Marconi Chateau, France. And so the way these records were packaged now, you got that little OB strip on the side. And this is for 1985 now. I mean, digital is the king of audiophile. Direct metal mastering is the new king of how do you make a record. Blue Note's trying to make it the best they can in 1985. Just like Blue Note's trying to make it the best they can in 2020, 21 here, right? So we're talking a number of years, 35 years or so in between the records that were made. So what did you get in here? It's kind of nice what's inside here, folks. I'll tell you what, it's a kind of a surprise. 1985. Comes with a nice inner sleeve. It's got a lot of information about Blue Note on there. And they're poly-lined. It's a poly-lined inner sleeve. That's really nice, right? And the records are really nice too. But there's 140 gram. Of course, they're not doing 180 gram stuff yet. And you did get inside the record. You got this kind of a poster thing of all the Blue Note. And then, of course, on the other side, here's the big old Blue Note thing that I like, that you see up on the wall there. So that's kind of a nice thing that they really tried to go all out on the packaging and the inner sleeves. You got a little poster in there. You got the OB strip, and they just really were trying to make the best record that they could. And what I did was I bought this record. I bought about 8 of them, I think, at the time in Winnipeg. I think it was around, it was probably around maybe 87 or so when I bought these records. And I didn't have Sidewinder. I didn't have hub tones. I didn't have a lot of them in records that I bought. And I took them home and I listened to it and I said, wow, these records really sound good. There was no classic records or analog productions or anything like that at the time. This was really good sounding records. I mean, when you went to the used record stores in Winnipeg, you didn't see these records. I didn't ever see any. It just was a thing that very few people owned, and if they had them, they weren't bringing them to the used record store. And so this was a copy I got, and this was like a lot of jazz records I had were on this. And I think I went on eBay and I did buy a few of them as well, because it was never really a popular format. And some people tried to get the big money, thinking I don't think they ever sold them like that. So when I listen to the difference between these two now, between the new classic, so these records are basically here. This is the same exact format. They're making them exactly the same. Kevin Gray, Optimal, plated at RTI, all that, exactly the same, except that this is a year newer. So the anniversary was last year. Now it's not an anniversary anymore. So now it's not an 80 anymore. And so now they're going to redo like Sidewinder and these records that are classics. So it's a great name for the series. So Ron, what's the difference between this 80s record and the new one? I'm hearing kind of basically the same difference again. This has got that extra punch. It's more lively. This has got a more laid back presentation. This is the kind of mastering they did before coherent audio came online. I'm not saying it's as good as the 45 RPM. There's no comparison to that one, but I'm hearing the same differences I'm hearing from these two that I'm hearing on these two, right? It's not, This isn't better because it sounds more analog to me, because I'm hearing kind of the same difference in the presentation. So this is very analog sounding. It's just more in your face. It's more lively. If you want this record, especially when I put it on today, I mean, the trumpet and the saxophone, they jumping off the speakers. If you like that kind of stuff, if you like the stuff that really just jumping out of there, just really lively, lots of detail, lots of harmonic structure, lots of really, really in-your-face music, presentation, you're going to love this. Some folks don't like that as much. They like a little bit more laid-back presentation. Okay? You're not really missing out on anything with this. It's just a different presentation. I have a Music Matters as well, but I didn't play it today. I have a couple of them. I don't have the same record, so I didn't think it's fair to listen to that and then say, well, I'll try to apply it to that. I guess I could do that as well, but I don't have any of the SRX records or anything. It's just that, as Michael said, is what I'm saying too, is when you can get a record like this for like $20, I think they're 22 euros retail over there. So, you know, in the States, there's a lot of places that sell them cheaper. And, you know, I did buy these I bought a 2-for-1, and I think it was $18 I paid on the pre-order. Normally, you're going to pay like $20, I would think, normally. What a phenomenal deal, people. Great, great sounding records. I mean, this actually is a really, really good sounding record. I was surprised when I put it on. And that's why I've had them all these years, because I always did like the way they sounded. It's just a very, very little bit of the digital artifact in there. Kind of just an edge to it that I don't like too much. But it's not prominent. You have to listen for it. If you're not really being real critical, you're just enjoying the music, it's not a thing you're going to hear. But when you're sitting there critically and you're listening for every little harmonic and every little thing on there, you say, oh, that little edge on the transient, it's not really my kind of thing. And that's one of the things about digital that I don't like. It's very, very subtle on there, but it's a little bit. But it's not as dynamic, it's not as detailed as this record is. This is a lot better audiophile sounding record than that. Then that was the audiophile of the day right there. And it still is a good sounding record. Now these are from 2008. So now we're talking, 13, 14 years ago. This is like almost 15-year-old technology versus the new technology from 2020. So again, we're going better technology, a better mastering studio, and we're getting a little bit more of that, a little more detail coming through there. It's not for everybody's cup of tea, because these have a really good sound. These are fantastic sounding records. These 45 RPMs are. But for the people that say, you know what, I like 33 records, I like spending $20, that's for you right there. You're going to love these records. And thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. If this is something you really liked, make sure to like the video, and don't forget to share the video. Maybe there's other folks that are buying these Blue Note records and they don't know about my channel. Share the video to them. And like I said, I'm going to leave a link to Michael's video, so I want you to go over there and watch his video, because I might not be quoting him properly. I can't remember exactly I didn't write it all down. So go there and watch his interpretation of it, because he's not wrong, folks. He's right, he's dead on. It's just that people like different things about the way their music sounds. And like I said, his stereo is much better than mine. He's probably hearing stuff on there that I'm not hearing. I'm just hearing it from my point of view on my stereo. So again, thanks for watching, and bye for now.